Hello, and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video, we're going to look at the last deck from Zendikar, which is Unstable Terrain, which is a blue and green deck. So, looking forward to this one. I like blue and green. So, let's dive in and start looking at it. So, the theme of the deck is Landfall, and Landfall was like a big thing in Zendikar, and it's shown up every time we've gone back to Zendikar. People really like it. It's a really fun mechanic because it rewards you for doing something that's honestly quite boring, which is playing lands. So anything that gives you an effect when you're doing something kind of routine is pretty good. Yeah, and I think Landfall is just really popular. I really like it. And this deck is all about Landfall. So yeah. So one of the rares in the deck, and it's not the foil face rare, and it blows my mind that it's not, because it's it's the card that cares the most about the deck's theme, is Royal Elemental. So 3 and 3 blue for a 3/2 flyer. So not great stats. However, has Landfall. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain control of a creature for as long as you control Royal Elemental, which is is a really strong effect. It turns every land you play into mind control. I mean, it's obviously as long as you control Royal Elemental, and it's only a 3/2. It's not obviously invincible, but it's a really strong effect. And you've got like so many ways of ramping up into this to get it down fairly early, and then like find it ramping up into lands anyway once it's down. Really strong, really good rare to include. I think it's really like Royal Elemental, and it absolutely should have been the foil face rare. So we have a Baloth Woodcrasher, so 4 and 2 green for a 4/4, has Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, it gets +4/+4 and gains trample in turn to turn. So without Landfall, it's kind of it's kind of overcosted, being 6 mana for a 4/4. But you play a land which you should be doing at least one of a turn, because there's plenty of ways to get more than one land out a turn in this deck. It's getting a pretty good boost, and even just playing one land swing with it being 8/8 trample is okay. Potentially at 12/12 or 16/16 even. It's really good. Good card to include. Really, it's the muscle of the deck, really. Single turn Timber Basilisk, 1 and 2 green for a 2/1 with Death Touch. Ideally would be a 1/1/2. Always prefer it when Death Touch creatures have higher toughness than power, but this is fine. It actually matters that it has higher power in this case, thinking about it, because it has a landfall ability. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you can have a creature block turn Timber Basilisk this turn if able. So you get 2 lands out, you can force 2 creatures to block it, 2 creatures block it, it's got 2 power, it can do 1 damage to each of them, kill them both. Yeah, it's alright. So this is kind of like a very wonky way of doing a removal spell, I suppose. Then we have the more common landfall creatures. So we have Territorial Baloth, 4 and a green for a 4/4, gets +2/+2 on landfall, which is just fine. Perfectly fine. This one I think is it's also okay if you don't get the land drop somehow, and it's it's 5 mana for a 4/4 is still okay, I guess. 2 Windrider Eel, so 3 and a blue for a 2/2 flyer, has landfall +2/+2. This is also pretty good, along with Baloth Woodcrasher. This is where most of the damage from the deck is going to be coming from, I think, just turning this into like a 4/4 or a 6/6 flyer and swinging with it, and you got 2 of them as well, which is pretty good. A single Grazing Gladeheart, 2 and a green for a 2/2. Landfall is you gain 2 life, which is good. It's fine, keeps you in the game a bit longer. It's alright. And then we have ways of enabling landfall kind of repeatedly, which is really good because you need ways of doing that. So Living Tsunami is my favorite way of doing it, I think. So 2 and 2 blue for a 4/4 flyer, so pretty well costed. At the beginning of your upkeep, you have to sacrifice Living Tsunami unless you return a land you control to owner's hand. So this is a way, you just return a land, and you play that same land, you get all your landfall triggers again. So, which is a good way of if you don't have lands coming up in your hand, it does potentially, that uses up your whole land drop for the turn. But I say there are so many ways in this deck of getting more than one land out a turn. It's fine. So this is good for enabling landfall triggers. Frontier Guide is another landfall enabler, so it's 1 green for a 1/1. You can pay 3 green, tap, set your library for a basic land card, put it into the battlefield, tap to then shuffle your library. Yep, so good to do this at instant speed to get all your landfall triggers at instant speed. You know, do it at the end of an opponent's turn. Yeah, this is a way to compensate for like Living Tsunami taking up your land drop for the turn. Yeah, Frontier Guide is pretty good. We also have Merfolk Wayfinder, so 2 and a blue for a 1/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, reveal the top 3 cards of your library. Put all island cards revealed this way into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Kind of weird to see this effect in blue. Honestly, it's obviously something we associate more with green. But yeah, I'm welcome to. Yeah, really happy to see it here. So yeah, this is okay. I think this is okay. And then the other rare of the deck, this is the foil face rare, is Sphinx of Jawar Isle, which is a weird choice. So I mean, it's a fine card. It's 4 and 2 blue for 5/5 with flying and shroud. So really difficult to deal with because you can't, you can't hit it with removal, and it's a big chunky flyer anyway. And it also has this ability where you can look at the top card of your library at any time for free, which is which is just fine. So many like fun memories of. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to attack you with all the stuff, and like, wait, I'm just going to look at the top card of my library, just really dramatically. Every point, like, okay, well, are you going to assign blockers? Like, yeah, I'm going to assign blockers. Wait, I'm going to look at the top card of my library. I was just checking. So yeah, like it's a fun effect, but like it has nothing to do with the deck other than other than it's a big flying creature that you're playing a bunch of lands, you'll be able to ramp into it fairly quickly. Sure, I guess. But I think definitely a better choice than this. And like as I said, I really think Royal Elemental should have been the foil face rare. And then some other, these are kind of filler, honestly. So a single Gomazoa, so 2 and a blue for a 0/3 with defending and flyer, which is like really horrible stats, honestly, for 3. But you can tap, put it and each creature it's blocking on top of the owner's libraries, and then shuffle libraries. So yeah, it can shuffle itself and whatever it blocks back into libraries, which is kind of a fun ability, I guess. Sure. But yeah, it's not really doing much here, I don't think. 2 Sage Owls. We've seen Sage Owl in a million core sets before. But yeah, just 1 blue, 1/1 flyer. You look at the top 4 cards of your library and put them back in the order. Yep, fine. Sets you up for lands in your next turn, I suppose. Sure. Single Coral Merfolk, no idea why this is in here. It's just 2/1 for 2, just very boring card. You would just immediately cut this because it just does nothing. It's just there to fill space, and we'll see that a lot in these other decks, which is a real shame. But anyway, Harrow, this is excellent. Last time we saw this was back in Invasion, which was a block that cared about multicolor, and in Zendikar, it's doing a different duty because Zendikar cares about playing lands. So Harrow really helps here. So 2 and a green, instant as additional cost to cast it. You have to sacrifice a land, search your library for 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, not tapped, which is really good, and then shuffle. So this was the cause of like some real like big swings, big gameplay moments when we used to play because you swing with all your landfall creatures. It being an instant is really good because then you would do Harrow, you would drop 2 lands, you get 2 landfall triggers on all your stuff, and that would usually be enough. You're giving at least like Windrider Eel like +4/+4 for that. So yeah, in this deck, Harrow is a pump spell basically, which is really fun. We have 2 Ior Ruin Expeditions. So 1 in the blue enchantment. It's one of the quest enchantments, but it doesn't have the quest subtype, and I really need to let that go and move on, but it does annoy me. Landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you can put a quest counter on Ior Ruin Expedition, remove 3 quest counters from Ior Ruin Expedition, and sacrifice it. Draw 2 cards. So this is kind of like investment divination, I suppose, because normal divination you would just pay 3 mana, sorcery, get the 2 cards immediately. This one, I guess you play it earlier, you build it up, and then you draw the cards. I guess then when you've still got like mana open, then to play the cards you've just drawn. I guess it's okay. It's okay, I think. 2 Paralyze and Grasp, 2 in the blue. Enchanted creature goes. Yep. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its control's untap step. It's just dehydration, but cheaper. It's fine. As I say, these days we normally see this effect like it usually taps the creature down. First of all, you've got no ways of like tapping creatures down. really in the deck. So yeah, this is okay, I suppose. Single giant growth, fine. Feels a little redundant given how much you got like landfall abilities, but it's always welcome, I suppose. Single mind control, again, this feels redundant given that you've got royal elemental, but again, guess it's fine. Really feels like it's here just to fill space, honestly. And then a single unsummon, just one blue, just to return a creature on his hand. We know what unsummon does, but yeah, again, fine in here, I guess. Could have been into the royal. Don't know why it wasn't why it wasn't into the royal, which is like a perfectly good bounce spell from Zendikar. I don't know why we have to have so many M10 spells in these decks, honestly. A single Terramorphic Expanse. Now, this is where I think we should have had two, or at least two, I think, because then you can sacrifice these at instant speed to get your lands out, and then you get your landfall triggers at instant speed. Could have actually, yeah, could have been good. And then just 7 Forest, 10 Island. Yep. So, what could have been? So we'll start off with the alternate rare. So Sphinx of Jawar Isle, I think, is okay. Oracle of Muldai, I think, would have been a lot better because it goes much better with what the deck's trying to do. Also means that we have a rare of each color in the deck, which I think would be better. So 3 in the green for a 2/2. You can play additional land on each of your turns, play with the top card of your library revealed, and you can play the top card of your library if it's a land card. So that is 100% what this deck wants to do: is play extra lands. Yeah, that's really should have been the rare. And then the alternatives, I suppose, I don't know where these could have fit in, but Hedron Crab, actually Hedron Crab instead of the Gomazoa, because Gomazoa is trash, I think. Hedron Crab, 1 blue, 0/2, landfall. When you get your landfall trigger, a player mills for 3, which is really good. Looks so innocent, but he gets so out of control. A favorite player of mine used to be turn 1 Hedron Crab, turn 2 Hedron Crab, then land to get mill 6 out of someone. So yeah, Hedron Crab could have been here. Also, I'm really surprised Calney Heart Expedition wasn't in here. So 1 new green, it's another quest enchantment. Gets a counter whenever you play a land, and then you can remove 3 quest counters from it and sacrifice it, and then you search up 2 basic lands, put them battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. So again, you could have got quest counters on this, waited for combat when your landfall trigger is going to matter, and then popped this and got your basic land. And like again, it's like another Zendikar card. Like why? It just really frustrates me that these decks are not using the card pool to its best advantage. They just seem really overly weighed down with M10 cards. Just very frustrating. So in summary, this one is pretty good. I used to like blue-green landfall, kind of like as the archetype. This is before archetypes were really a thing. But I used to really like landfall as a mechanic. I think I definitely bought this deck because I have Royal Elemental, I have a Jawar Isle, I wouldn't have bought them otherwise. And definitely like played around it, like definitely had more like Terramorphic Expanses and other ways of getting land out instant speed. But yeah, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good springboard to add to the deck. So this one was okay, but not as good as the Vampire one. I think the Vampire one has been by far the best Zendikar deck I've looked at. But what did you think of this deck after seeing it? Like, have you got any thoughts or comments or opinions about it? Any stories related to this deck or landfall cards in general? Stick a comment below. Always like reading those. But I'll be back next time. So we're now done with Zendikar. We're going to move on to World Wake, and it's kind of, I'm going to just say it now, it's going to be kind of like a Lara where the decks are very similar to what we've just looked at, so I might not have too much to say about them, but we will look at them because every deck could have been someone's first. I would be remiss if I didn't look at everyone and give each one time to look at, I suppose. Got weirdly preachy towards the end there. I'm sorry. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks for watching, listening, and bye!